All right, everybody, this is take two. This is Dan French here with the French Workbench podcast. We were running through technical difficulties. We noticed that the sound wasn't coming through, but seems like it is now. Thank God. We had Jason in studio, and he was on site, and I told him to, I didn't tell him. He came in and helped us out. And
I can't hear you.
Yeah, he's like, I can't hear you guys. So this is Dan French with Guaranteed Rate, and I'm in studio again with my good friend, and he's a financial advisor, right? And he's from Peak, what is it?
Peak Financial Solutions.
Financial Solutions. I always get that wrong, man. It's kind of a tongue twister for me, I guess.
Yeah.
so Peak
Mike
Financial
Keeler,
Solutions.
Yeah, Mike Keeler. I'm a certified financial planner, which is a pretty cool designation in our industry.
Yeah.
It just means I've taken a lot of classes and passed a 2-day test. But honestly, I always recommend someone use a certified financial planner. It's really important.
Well, we got to start somewhere, right? I mean, anybody that's out there and you need a financial planner, we've talked a lot about investment properties. We've talked a lot about how to invest your money, and where people are, I would say not struggling, but they're trying to figure out different ways to make money, right? And you got a lot of things happening in the world. You got inflation, so
there are so many different things going on these days. I mean, the gig economy is just amazing, right?
Yeah.
I've gone on Fiverr. I needed a new logo. I don't know if you've ever seen that, Fiverr.
Yeah.
And
they create stuff on there,
I mean,
right?
You've got so many creative people there. And I had somebody record my outgoing message for my voicemail system.
Right.
And it's just a nice professional sounding voice. That's not me. And it just was a cool thing to do. But yeah, there's so many different ways of making money here these days.
Well, I'm going to go over to Mike's website right here. We have Peak Financial Solutions. And Mike, how long have you been doing financial planning? Like, where did
20 years.
Yeah. What did you do before this?
So I'm an orphan of the .com era. So I used to write and design software, and life was awesome in the 90s. And then it came to a screeching halt in 2001 when the company I was working for, all of a sudden the venture capitalists, they were broke and they couldn't keep our doors open.
Yeah.
So I found myself needing a job. My father-in-law convinced me to get a securities license, move to Vegas, and start working with him. Here I am.
So let's talk a little bit about what's going on with scams. And we talked a lot about business scams and scams in general, like where, I get a lot of questions about people wiring money, and they're scared because somebody's going to.
You can't undo it.
Yeah, and you can't. And the thing is, it's somewhat embarrassing, I think, for people. Also, there's a process that once it's gone, that money's gone. And so, when they're buying a house, I had people call me and say, hey, is it a good time to, I've heard stories about people wiring money on certain days and certain times. And it's not necessarily about the time, but it's very similar to what happens in the world where you have a lot of people calling you and trying to scam you out of certain things, your social security number, maybe scam you about getting your bank account information, and then just really fraud in general because you're trying to get that person's, identity theft. So what is some of the things that you've been challenged with when it comes to scams and in reference to money scams?
So I had an interesting situation. I got this email from a client, and she said, hey, I need some money out of my account.
Yeah.
And I said, I tried calling her.
Right.
And, no answer. And I thought, well, that's kind of weird. And then I emailed her back, and I said, hey, I tried calling you. And she said, oh, I'm too sick to answer the phone.
Right.
What? I don't know about that.
Yeah.
Well, here's the funny thing. She's a Metro cop.
Okay.
And so I called another client who's a cop, and I said, have you seen so-and-so lately? And he said, well, I haven't seen her, but she was on the radio last night, and she was really annoying. And she's working, so she's not sick. And so I finally was able to track her down, and I said, hey, what's going on here? Well, she set the Vegas cops, the detectives on this, and what happened was somebody had hacked her email account. And then they had set up a filter, so all emails between her and me went into a special folder that she didn't know was there.
Wow.
And so she'd log into her email account and wouldn't notice anything, yet there were these conversations that I was having with her. And, had I not been paying attention, I mean, we could have sent some money out.
100%. Yeah, and one of the things that I look at is there's a lot of phishing emails. Companies are starting to get smart about this where they'll actually trick you. They'll send out an email that says, this is so-and-so, and they want to, I'm inquiring about some information for a loan or whatever it is. And what they're trying to do is you to click on that link, and then it opens up and they can hack into your computer basically.
Yeah. And recently I've been getting a lot of emails. Oh, here's an invoice, and, this is money owed, and it's a Microsoft Word document.
Yeah.
No, I'm not clicking on that. I don't know who you are.
Right.
Delete.
Right.
Delete. And it's crazy that, some of these people are really smart. I'm amazed and impressed with some of the scams that they're coming up with. If they could use this evil for good, that they could really do some really neat things. But boy, they're really trying to take your get rid of your money.
Yeah, exactly.
But going back to the email accounts, this is where a strong email password and using that two-factor authentication is really important. A lot of people use Gmail, for example.
Right.
And you can set it up so you can use that Google Authenticator. So if you're...
I just set that up, by the way. I did.
Dude, what
Listen,
took you so long?
I'm telling you right now, man. I'm slow with the times with stuff like that.
That is so
it's
important.
Huge.
And because once you do that, if you log on from another machine, if I try logging on my phone
Right.
as you, it's going to say, oh, you need that super secret number that changes every 30 seconds, and I can only get that from your phone. So that really makes it a lot tougher.
Well, I think too, it's like, when you have emails going out and you have a lot of sensitive data, there's a lot of people that don't understand, like, well, how can, they're looking for opportunities. These people that are on there, they're looking for opportunities. And I've had people where, with the emails, they're scared about wiring their money. And a lot of times how these things happen is, if you're getting into a house, right, and you're going to go wire your money to a title company, a lot of times they'll come up with like, Dan French or Dan French 1 at Yahoo or whatever it is.
.ru.
Yeah. And how they get
Russia.
it. Yeah, exactly. And how they get it is they get the wiring instructions from the title company. And that's when they wire it to the bank. I've had it where there's issues. Listen, it doesn't happen a lot here at Guarantee Rate, but it has happened. And it's happened a couple of times. And there's actually one time it happened out of Denver. Apparently what was happening is that this person, they were trying to get a wire and not intercept it, but they sent out an email. And before they actually got the money, the loan officer actually found that out and stopped it before it happened. And so it's good that it happened, but man, it was close. And they gave all the information. They wired the money, and they're like, whoa. Tell your bank to cancel that wire.
Yeah, and they probably received that information via email. And
100%.
Because, somebody had been kind of scanning their email folders and say, oh, look, he's getting a loan. The loan officer said, hey, I need this extra documentation. I need your tax return. They look for these things, and they can see that, oh, they're looking for a loan. Let's figure out how we can get them to wire us some money. And, imagine if you wired that 20% down that, 60 grand or, whatever you're going to be putting down, guess what? You're not buying a house now.
No. And it's weird because I think a lot of people get embarrassed. It's happened, but people get embarrassed. And I wouldn't say it's like, well, they don't know. Nobody really knows what to do at that point. Like, first off, buying a home and getting a loan and doing the process of all of these things that's going on is somewhat foreign language to a lot of people. They don't even know what the process is,
It's a pain in the butt.
Yeah. And so by the time that they find out that this is not accurate, I think a lot of people are hesitant, right? And they're like, they email me, Dan, or they text me, Dan, is this you, or is this your assistant, or who is this?
And they should.
Yeah.
If there are any questions about wiring money, they should. For us, wiring money to another account or something like that, it's almost an act of God. The amount of paperwork that we have to do to wire money outside. Now, if I've got your, we can wire it to your checking account. I can have a check sent to your address of record, things like that. But boy, wiring money, please no, I don't want to do that. It's just too much paperwork.
Yeah, it's a tough situation, right?
Well, it is.
And how often do you have challenges where people don't want to give their information or wire the money? Does that happen a lot?
But nobody, the last time I really needed to do a wiring was probably 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And somebody buying a house and they needed money out of an account.
Right.
But it's just not very common anymore.
Correct.
So usually what happens is they need some money. I just send it right into their checking account, and then they can go, deal with it right there at the bank.
Yeah.
and that's, one less level of problem.
So the fraud that's out there, I mean, there's a lot, right? You got a lot of people that are, you get a lot of these phone calls. What's cool about your phone now is you can
potential
see,
scam.
Yeah, man, I don't ever pick that up. Do you ever pick up when somebody's calling for a scam? You don't ever pick up for that,
so
do you?
I had some fun the other day. They were trying to sell me my extended car warranty.
Yeah.
And they said, oh, what kind of car do you have? Well, I've got a Yugo.
Huh.
Do you know what a Yugo is?
No.
Okay. This is kind of a generational
Explain
thing. It was a Yugoslavian car back in the 90s, and it was widely considered the worst car in America. I mean, it was just horrible.
Right.
So, and the person didn't even blink an eye. They just, oh, okay, how many miles do you have on it? I said, well, I've got 200,000 miles on it. I can't imagine getting 200,000 miles on a Yugo. That'd be sounds scary.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
But anyway, she said, oh, that's too many miles. Do you have another car? And I said, well, I could just roll back the odometer.
Yeah. She
didn't quite understand that term. It's obviously just a U.S. thing, roll back the odometer.
Right.
But I said, well, I could just put in another odometer, and she wouldn't let me do that. So
she was
quite disappointed. But so next time they call, I've got a Yugo with 150,000 miles, and we'll see how much that costs. But I've had people call, and I'm from Windows Technical Support, and it's kind of funny. I'll kind of go through them, and they say, well, click this key, and I'm like, well, I don't understand. It's not working. And then they say, well, what kind of machine are you? Are you on a Mac? I'm like, yeah. Oh, well, we can help you with that too. I'm like, no, you can't.
Well, let me say, okay, so when you talk about scams, right, and you talk about people that are really trying to take somebody's
music.
Yeah, do you like that?
Yeah.
I put that in there for scams.
Cool.
So when you have people right now that are, looking at wiring money, and they have questions about maybe should I do that, there's other forms of not just scamming that goes on in the financing and real estate world. And we're going to talk a lot about what happens with your situation of how it happens in your industry. There's other ways though, like a lender could sit there and, talk to their client and ask them to keep pulling money out on a cash out refinance, keep pulling that money out, The other thing is sometimes when you have real estate agents, I've seen it where a real estate agent has actually rented properties to people that were not even involved on that property. Yeah. They would rent it, take the money, and then they would say, okay, they would sit there 2 months later.
Yeah.
And people would be showing up at the door like, hey, I'm here to buy this house. Oh, so-and-so rented this house to us. Oh no, that person, we don't even know who that is. They're long gone with the money at that point, No, and that happens a lot, right?
We've seen that. People, how do you know that you're dealing with the owner of the house or a real representative of the house? It just got me thinking, it's easy to check with the county records who owns the house. And, if somebody else is renting you the house, well, maybe you got to ask that, right? You go to the county assessor website and you can look up who owns that house.
The other thing you could do too is I thought about this. I have these things at my fingertips, right? I can go to a title company. Yep. I can get the information like who's owning this house. Are they renting it? Have they been renting it? Good thing too, though, is you want to probably, if you're going to rent, get a property manager involved. Like that's a legit property manager, because chances are if they're with a property manager and you did your homework, probably going to be okay, But if you're renting from a private party and you don't know, it maybe looks a little skeptical, you might want to go online and you want to go to the assessor's page, like you said, or get a title company or do a property search on who owns this property. Am I renting it from the person that currently owns it,
Yeah, I used to have a rental, and I had a tenant who actually questioned. They said, hey, how do we know that you're actually making the mortgage payments on this?
Yeah.
Well, I'll show you my current statement, I guess, if that makes you happy.
Right.
And, that made him happy because, at the time, this was probably 2008 or 9, there was a lot of people who had rental properties, but they weren't making the mortgage payments. And then all of a sudden the house got foreclosed and, they're out.
Yeah.
So, that was a valid question.
It is.
I was okay showing them my current mortgage statement at least.
Dude, there was a real estate agent that was big in this city, and it's crazy because you would never think that this person or that type of person would do this type of stuff where they collect money and they're just basically getting, and they did it not just one property. They were doing it at multiple properties, collecting a large sum. Like they're asking for first and last months.
First and last, security deposit.
Security deposit. You're walking.
Yeah,
man, you're walking away. You get 10 of those people, you're walking away with $15,000, $20,000 right there.
And those contracts are easy to download off the internet.
Yeah, 100%.
That's where I would get them.
Yeah,
just buy them. And I mean, it doesn't mean the contract's not. For me, it was a legitimate use, but just because someone has a legal document doesn't mean it's really doing what it says.
Well, and I say, going back to your industry. So let's go back to this, okay? People want to know stories. They want to know what your situation is. They want to know how all this occurred, where people, like, for instance, your experiences, they want to know how to avoid getting into a situation like this where they get into somebody scamming them for money or wire fraud or something that's happening. So give me a story that's happened with you that you can kind of guide people on, that maybe to look for.
Well, I had one recently last month. I got a phone call from a client, and he needed money for a down payment on a house. He needed $80,000.
Right.
Like, okay, all right. Yeah, didn't know you were getting ready to do that, but okay. And we sent it to him, and then he calls back, and he's very sheepish, and he says, Mike, I did a bad thing. I said, what's going on? I think, great, get arrested or something.
Yeah.
He says, well, it started out a couple weeks ago. I got a phone call at 5 a.m. from somebody who said they were with the DEA, and they found a Toyota Corolla at the Mexico border, trying to come across, and it had a copy of my ID in it. And,
oh, my gosh.
I had to send them some money. And I was like, you fell for that? He said, Mike, they got me at 5 o'clock when I wasn't really thinking.
See, and that's the thing, is that we can all get, somewhat taken advantage of in this situation. We're not, we wake up, we have lives going on. You got family, you got kids, you're trying to get them to school. You got all these things happening. So you're going to be subject to potentially somebody out there trying to take advantage of you. And it's hard,
are
man.
Incredible salespeople.
They
really are. They can sell anything.
Yeah.
Ice cubes to an estimate, right?
Right.
It's horrible. But they actually convinced him to send $12,000 in cash via FedEx. And he couldn't. Okay, I got to do this. Because I don't want them coming arresting me.
Right.
And so he did this, and then he talked to a friend, and the friend just, boom, what the heck are you doing? That is a scam. And so he was able to call FedEx and have that resent back to him.
Right.
And so what he did then is he went to the police department.
Yep.
And then they sent him on to the FBI. And the FBI monitored the address where these things were going. And guess what? They intercepted a number of other packages.
Yeah.
And one was a big chunk of money from an 80-year-old person.
Wow.
Okay. That would have been that guy's life savings, probably.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, 100% right.
He can't undo that. And, because my friend, my client, he actually talked to somebody about this. They clued him in. Okay, you're not thinking straight here. And sometimes we need that.
Yeah. The other thing, too, I was going to tell you is, if you come over here, you look at, we got wire fraud. This is one of them. I'm just looking this up right now as we go. So you got, let me pull this in really quick here. So you got wire fraud. You got loan flipping right here. Okay.
And what is that? That's
just like what I said. And I just looked this up because I know that there was a few of them out here. Loan flipping is where you actually have people refinance their home, and then you call them right away and say, hey, let's pull some more money out. And as a lender,
do another refi.
Yeah, it's like, it's almost like, is it necessary, right? And that's right. I guess there's a terminology for it, loan flipping, I guess. Here's the other one, though. We have the forbearance right now that's going on.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of stuff that's going on. I'm sure there's scams going on where you have people, hey, sign up with us. Obviously, there's no money involved in this. Like for here, it says a foreclosure relief. I didn't know about this one. I didn't know this even existed. But any type of significant situation, right, where you're in a position and you're desperate.
Yeah. That's,
I think, where people know, where's the sensitive parts? Where are these people desperate at? And how can we take advantage of that desperate opportunity?
Right. And sometimes it makes sense to talk this over with somebody.
Yeah.
if you're getting some weird situation, maybe you need another set of eyes on this.
Yes.
Or, maybe this is a conversation you need to have with your parents.
Right.
If they're getting older.
Yeah.
Hey, if you are making any big financial decisions, maybe it's time to let me in on it.
Yes.
Things like that.
Yeah.
I talk to my dad about things from time to time. My parents are very, they don't talk a lot about their finances. I mean, they don't tell me their net worth or anything like that. I have a general idea.
Sure.
But, they don't tell me how much they have in IRAs, things like that. And that's just the way it is.
I think it's sensitive, man. Sensitive
It
information.
is.
People, even like family, they don't really come out and say, hey, I got $100,000 in my account. They don't want to be.
Well,
people just want to be
you get
private.
more friends than you had before, and you don't want them.
Yeah.
But my dad was actually asking me, does it make sense to do this transaction? And we kind of talked about it, and it wasn't a scam or anything like that. But I thought it was good that he and I were having that conversation,
right?
Because I am going to need to get more and more involved. My parents are. Dad's going to be 79 this year.
Wow.
And he's still got it. He's still
people are with it longer too, man. You got a lot of people that are just living longer. I know they got the COVID that came out, but
yeah,
people are living. But
he's at the point where he's maybe it doesn't hurt to ask my son about this. And,
sure.
Since I'm kind of in the money industry, he kind of takes that. But I when we were talking about this topic, I ran up some numbers here. In 2019, more young people actually lost money.
More young people lost money?
Yeah, so 40% of people in the 20 to 29% age bracket, 40% of them
That's a lot.
Lost some money to a scam. That's amazing, compared to 18% of 70 plus.
Well, too, it's weird because you have millennials are smart, man. I mean, the younger generations are smart, but I also think that, and to go with it, I think that they're also in a sense where when they call, they're not as, they've lived as long. And plus, when you start to get into your 30s and your 40s and your 50s, somebody's tried to do something to you somewhere. You know what I mean? Somebody's tried to take advantage of you. So you kind of get smart with it, I think, a little bit, where maybe they're just going after those people that are just getting started in life,
Well, the millennials they're not losing as much money though.
Right.
They don't have as much as a 70-year-old typically.
Correct.
So that's kind of something interesting, that fewer 70-year-olds are losing their money, but the ones that are losing a bigger chunk of it. But the IRS does not want iTunes gift cards.
Yeah, right.
I mean, it just blows my mind. Seriously, you sent $2,000 in iTunes gift cards to the IRS?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, right?
But guess what? Somebody sold them on that.
Yeah,
and they're really good at it.
Yeah,
and there are a lot of people who they get kind of gullible, or they don't really understand. Or these people are just incredible salespeople, like the guy who from that DEA who kind of swindled my client.
Yeah, and that's the thing, man. It's I get a lot of. There's been a few calls that have come into me, and they've said, "We're from the IRS, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Can we get we need to get your information
or
because
Social Security,
right? We're Social Security, right?
We're gonna have to put freeze."
And I play around with them sometimes, but you got to realize that there's a lot of people out there that may not know that that's because the IRS is not going to call you like that. They got to understand that.
They send letters.
They send letters. They're like, hey, and they don't want to anyways. I don't think anybody's going to sit there and have a phone call, like a department that's just going to sit there and call you. So
right.
Besides that, when you go back into it though, some of the stories that I've heard and some of the horror stories, when you get like identity theft or fraud,
oh yeah,
that's one of the worst. You got to now clean up your credit.
Oh my goodness.
I pull credit on people and they're just like, I don't know who this is, especially if they have the same last name.
Sure.
A lot of people that are a junior, like let's say you have a senior and a junior. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's my son's or that's my dad's and that wasn't me. And then you got to, so I'm not saying that, but it's challenging. So if you could think that if that's challenging, right?
Sure.
And when you get into a position where somebody has actually done that to you and you don't know who it is and how to fix it, there's a little, you're a little bit shy with things, man.
Oh, and you should be.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on with ID theft.
Yeah.
you just have to assume that they have all your information out there.
Yeah.
So, the people who, from the DEA who called my client, they said, is this so-and-so? Is your social security number this? Is your date of birth this? They had all that information. And guess what? It's just out there on the dark web. It is.
Yeah.
Plus all the frequently used passwords that you use. If you had a Target account, guess what? Target got hacked. All those passwords got dumped out onto the dark web.
Yeah, that was recent, right? Where Target,
a couple years ago.
Was it Target that it got hacked?
I mean,
was that
all these big ones are getting hacked.
Yeah.
I mean, the federal government's been hacked. So, this is where it's important to have different passwords for each site. When I first started playing around on the internet, it was all the same password.
Yes.
It was my email address and my password. Well, I stopped using my email address as my login name, and I use, some different things, name and some numbers, something like that.
Yeah.
Because I had a lot of people, someone was trying to log into my bank account.
Okay.
And, my username was Mike Keeler.
Uh-huh.
And, they kept logging in and resetting my password, and then I'd have to reset it. I mean, they couldn't get in because they didn't have all the information. But, it was, now I got to reset my password again, and it was a pain in the butt. And so I had to change my username to something that was not just Mike Keeler.
Yes.
So that was kind of crazy. And there's a good thing, because it could have been, just another Mike Keeler who thought he had an account there, or, maybe it was somebody who was trying to hack my account.
How do you fix that, right? So you always say, well, what are the precautions? Like I don't teach classes, or I don't go on there and say, guys, you want to make sure you don't do these things. But what are some of the things to notice, I guess?
Well, guess what? I've got this handy dandy sheet. Okay.
There you go.
You can see it here. And this is actually available on my Facebook page right now.
Okay.
So if you look up Peak Financial Solutions on Facebook,
okay,
you can actually download this. And it's got a number of things that you can do. It's also got a little scorecard that you can go through. And, the higher your score, the worse off you are. Okay. So, oh, no, it's actually the lower the score, the worse off you are. So, these are some things that you can do to protect yourself. So, just go to Facebook and
we can look that up here in a second.
Yeah. And then give me a like on Facebook.
Some of the stuff that's on there, you don't have to go over all of them. Exactly. Yeah. Give it a like. What is some of the things on there? Can you give them the audience about?
Oh, here's a great one. Okay.
Okay.
You create a different email address for all your financial statements.
Huh.
Okay. More and more people are receiving bank statements, credit card statements, things like that. And if you keep those in a separate email address from your regular one,
right?
It's going to be your regular one that typically would get hacked.
Okay.
Well, they're not going to see all those things. They're not going to see the statement that you have with me.
Yeah.
And then they're not going to be calling me trying to get money out. So having multiple email accounts, and you can do that on Gmail and Yahoo and,
Oh man, I think I have like 20 accounts. I don't even know half of them.
Yeah, right.
I created them. I don't even know what's going on.
That's a really good one right there.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't think about that.
Yeah.
But because when they can scan your email box, they get a pretty good idea of
what's happening.
What's happening.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty good one.
Okay.
And then obviously creating different passwords and using two-factor authentication. You definitely want to use two-factor authentication with your bank, with your email, anything.
You might not know this. What is the statistics though? And this is crazy. I mean, look, if you got a two-factor, but how many people really take advantage of that? And then also, what is the statistics of people where when they do have it, it actually prevents something happening? Now, obviously, if you have more steps to try to find out who this person is, it's going to save you. But is it really making a difference? I don't know. I mean, I don't deal with that type of stuff,
I don't know the numbers, but it's got to be, anything you can do to make it a little bit tougher.
Sure.
Maybe they'll move on to the next one. It's like locking your doors on your car. Well, you can't get in that one. I'll try the next car down the street.
Right.
So things like that. But there are different types of two-factor authentication. One is where they send you a text message.
Okay.
And that is not as secure as using the authenticator. That little app that you get from Google or
So you get the text messages then, huh?
You can, but that's not as secure.
Okay.
Okay? Because people can actually call up the phone company and they say, hey, I just switched my phone,
Right.
and they can, here's my social security number, my date of birth. I need to, I need a new SIM card. And then what happens is now that their phone is your phone. And so when they get that text message from the bank, it goes to them and not you.
Yeah.
So the text message isn't as secure as using like the authenticator.
I see. Well, so one of the things I want to talk about too is besides the authenticator, so you don't deal with any wiring anymore, right?
Very, very infrequently.
Yeah.
That being said, probably get a dozen requests next week.
So when somebody does business with you, you guys obviously shake hands. Is it just a different format of how they pay you primarily?
Right. We take checks. That's it.
That's it.
I mean, I can take money directly out of your checking account, or you can write me a check.
Okay.
Those are the only ways. We can't do cash. We don't do money orders.
Sure.
We don't wire money into these things.
Yeah.
Now we can transfer money from one IRA to another. So that's how we grow our business, is taking over other people's accounts.
Yeah.
But for the most part, our industry is very set in its ways, and they don't want us to. We can't use credit cards. I've had people want to do that.
Yeah.
And it used to be I required a voided check. I had to have one. And so many millennials don't have a checkbook.
Well, I'll be honest with you, Mike. I probably haven't wrote a check. I'll tell you the truth.
But you got one.
No, I do.
Yeah.
But it's crazy. I could see it from your side of it, but I also see it where if it's not put in this, like it's not in the system, right? Where I have to go to the bank to actually print out a check, right? And that's one of the things that I have to do is go to the bank. They give you a sheet. So it's almost like the bank's promoting you not to have checks, which I think is something that you would still want to, I would still pay somebody with a check, no problem. It's just not practiced, and it seems like it's not promoted by your bank.
Yeah, I mean, these days we're able to just use the checking account number and the routing number.
Yeah.
So we don't necessarily need those checks. But, when my kids got their first checking accounts, I said, let's get you a box of checks.
That's a big step, man.
My wife said, they don't need a box of checks. And I said, yes, they do, because their dad's a financial advisor, and he's going to be making them put money away, and they need a check to do that.
Right.
And she couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
But, a box of checks is just $5 or something. I mean, you don't need a lot, and they'll probably last 20 years.
Yeah.
So checks are kind of weird.
You know what I have a problem with too is, I'll tell you the truth. So
I have one problem.
I have a lot of problems.
Oh, okay.
Many problems. So we all got problems.
Say, you're
Mike.
lucky, man.
Yeah.
I'll give you some of mine.
We all got problems. No, but I was going to say that a lot of people, when they have credit cards, they give out the information, and all of a sudden, I'm a big person of this where I sign up for something. I don't know that my credit card's going to get taken. And all of a sudden I got like 8 or 9 things going on in my account. And I'm like, man, who is this who is this company?
Right.
And where did this come from? And how, so what I end up doing is I go to my bank. I don't know who all these people are. And so for me, I don't want to try to have to challenge every single one of them. And so I just cancel my card and get a new one.
And that's not a bad habit, because credit card numbers can get hacked, and it is an easier way to deal with that stuff. Now, one thing I do is on my iPhone, I have it, notify me every time there's a charge on my account.
That's a good idea.
And this way I'm kind of looking through, oh yeah, okay. Oh, what did my wife do? Okay.
Is that part of the cybersecurity checklist?
It is not.
It's not.
It's part of my cybersecurity checklist. I'm making my own right now.
There you go.
As we speak.
I think what it comes down to is there's a lot of ways to get taken advantage of. I've had a situation where this is crazy, that people would actually, they were always calling me, I'm not going to wire my money until I know that this is a legit title company. That's one. And the other thing too is, the big question I get is credit. We know that financing and your financials and your assets and your credit are the 2 biggest things that, probably the 2 biggest, I would say, but close. They're going to definitely affect your life if something happens to them. You lose your card or your wallet, or you have something go on with your credit, problems, right? So one of the things is that I get a lot of people that are really skeptical about sending in their paperwork.
Oh, yeah.
It's always like, I don't want to send my bank account, or if I pull credit right now, is this legit and is it going to affect my score? And, there's some people that are like, if I send my bank account, I'm going to wipe all the numbers out. You're going to see this big black line come across, and I'm like, look, guys, everybody that gets a loan has to go through this process. I understand
now,
it.
let me ask you this. How do they send you the information?
Well, and that's a good question, Mike. The thing is they send it by secure form transfer. So they fill out a loan application. They go to vegasloanguru.com. They fill out the loan app. What's cool about
What's
it?
What's the website?
vegasloanguru.com.
Oh, okay.
You like that, right? Pretty good, right? So they fill the information out.
Yeah.
And then when they fill it out, they automatically pull their credit. And people think, well, it's going to affect my score. That doesn't affect your score. You have to pull it for different reasons.
Right.
And that's one of the biggest things that I get is, well, I'm gonna hold off because I don't want to pull my credit. And then right after that, there's a link that comes through and says upload my paperwork. Well, what people don't understand is that they're skeptical. They're like, well, I don't want to send all my sensitive paperwork, right? I don't want to send my bank account, my retirement account.
Sure.
And if they do, some of them are like, especially some old school people, not everybody, but some people, they are like, hey, I'm going to cross everything off. Obviously, everybody has to go through a loan the same as you. And it's not practice to do that, especially if you're trying to get a loan. Now, how a lending institution helps with that is they have you upload the documents through the link through a secure form transfer.
Right.
And so it prevents
this
that
is
cyber.
not email.
What's that?
This is not emailing documents.
It's not email and documents,
Right.
no.
So you're uploading them.
Right.
And yeah, so the neat thing is that is secure. You're uploading to a special server. When you send these types of documents via email, boy, that stuff can get intercepted and hacked. So, I mean, that's awesome that you guys are doing that. And pretty much everybody is doing that these days.
Yeah, you have to. I think, too, also, what if you just got the wrong email address?
Yeah.
What if you just sent it to somebody and you're like, where did this go?
Digit and, instead of guaranteed rate is, bad rate or something.
Yeah. Look, I'm not going to say that sometimes it doesn't make sense. There's a lot of people that are technologically challenged, right? And that's fine. But there's a lot of people that can't upload their paperwork or they can't send sensitive information. So they're like, hey, I'm just going to email it. It's always your choice. But the more, it's their choice. They can also mail it into my office. But I think probably same for you is that the proper choice is to try to use that secure form transfer. Use the tools that you've been provided by the company, right?
So important. I mean, I don't think my email's been hacked at work, but please don't send me sensitive information there. That's really important. Let me ask you about this. Do you do much work via fax?
Fax?
Yeah.
Not too much. You know what? I had a lot of people used to do fax a lot, and they stopped doing it. I don't know why. That maybe because it's the secure form transfer, and people are starting to get better at just dragging and dropping stuff. So I think that's one of the biggest things, but it's still there. It's called an e-fax. What it does is it actually electronically faxes right into my email.
Sure. Yeah. And fax is actually a lot more secure than email.
Is it really?
Oh, it is, because it's hard to hack a fax because, you got two machines talking to each other directly over the phone lines. And, theoretically, you could have somebody standing up on the pole with a little box and that's downloading all this stuff that you're faxing. But, that's just not feasible, really.
It's not feasible, yeah.
And interestingly enough, a lot of medical offices still do a lot of faxing for that reason because they don't have the secure file transfers and things like that you and I use.
Yeah, and it's got to be at your fingertips. But beyond that, I think there's a lot of people that still, like I said, they're still skeptical about things. And
they should be.
Yeah.
I encourage people to be skeptical.
Yeah.
If something sounds kind of weird to you, if it's something new, well, find out a little bit more about it. And if they don't feel comfortable uploading the documents, well, guess what? There's always SneakerNet or drop it by the office, right?
Right. And one of the things, I'll tell you another story. There was a lady that came to me, and she had I think it was like a 650 credit score. This was a few years back, and so she was excited. She wanted to do the down payment assistance program. She was excited about getting into a house, and everything was great. And a lot of people don't understand that, there's certain parameters to approve for a loan. They understand there's some type of criteria.
Sure.
But anyways, to go back to the story, she came to me and she sat in my office and she's like, Dan, I really don't know where my credit's at. She said, can you pull my credit? I do think that I'm pretty mid-pack.
Okay.
you know, and one of the things that happened is that we ended up pulling her credit, and she was like at a low 500.
Ooh.
And she doesn't know who used her stuff or how it was there, but there was about 6 or 7 accounts on her credit report. And she's like, man, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm renting, and I thought I was going to be buying a house, and now there's an issue. These are the types of challenges, especially when you're looking at somebody face to face, where you got to tell them no, which is the hard part. Doesn't mean that there's not a path, but unless she could get that stuff removed from her credit and say that it was never her, this could be a year and a half before her credit gets back to where it needs to be.
And this is ID theft.
Yes. And listen, this is another situation where now she's got to rebuild her credit. She's got to go challenge these accounts. You know, when you look on your credit report, there's a lot of, there's data on there. There's numbers you could call these creditors. Sure. Sometimes they go to collections and there's collection accounts. But the whole thing is, a lot of people, if they know their credit and if you're on top of your credit, you know if there's an issue. It's the ones that don't know. And I hate to say that, but if I ask somebody, what's your credit score? And they're like, I'm a 720. I could bet money that they're going to be close to a 720. But it's the ones that I asked that said, hey, you know what is your credit score? Oh, you know, I haven't checked it for about 8 months, or I don't know. Probably not going to be a good score. I'm not saying all the time, but you know, some people, the people that monitor and they take it and they constantly monitor their credit and they look at their score, maybe they have one of these apps, right, that they're attached to.
Yeah. I mean, I've got Experian, I've got TransUnion on my phone, and, you know, I play with them from time to time just to see what's going on. But, you know, that brings up another point, annualcreditreport.com.
There you go.
Right?
Yeah.
You need to pull your credit reports, you know, at least once a year. And, what you know, they're the 3 main companies, Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax.
That's right.
Yeah. And so you go to annualcreditreport.com and you can download one. And, you know, what I recommend is every 4 months you download a different one.
Right.
And this way you're looking at it 3 times a year just to make sure nothing's going on there. So,
I just want to say a shout out to Cece on here. She's on the live stream, and we're going to fix that, Cece. I didn't know we had a delay, so maybe next time on this I will be asking about, do we have an audio delay? It seems like we have an audio delay here, and so we'll fix that for the next one. We didn't know, but it's probably, you know.
At least we're talking.
Well, it's good information, but you know what's great is the feedback, you know, and she's always on the show. We have other things that we do, so she's really good on feedback, so I appreciate that.
Thank you, Cece.
Yeah, we'll have that fixed next time. But going back to what we were talking about, you know, other cybersecurity things people could be looking at. Do you have anything else on that sheet?
Credit freezes. How about that?
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Man, I can't tell you. I just had one today. And here's the crazy part. I can't pull credit until they remove that freeze.
How awesome is that?
That's awesome, because I pull credit, one, you get alerted, and then I got to actually call the client and say, hey, John Doe, you know, Equifax or TransUnion is not pulling. Can you please remove the freeze on that?
Yeah, and it's not hard.
Yeah,
I mean with if you've got the app, you can just turn it off, you know, for a little bit, let Dan do his work, and then turn it back on. Or you can log onto the website and do that. But yeah, for a lot of people, they don't need to have their credit open all the time.
Yeah. And I can tell you that a lot of people too, when they get into a position where they have security, you know, they take those measures to have those securities in place. Almost every time they got really good credit. And what I'm saying is, it doesn't mean that everybody's got stellar credit. I'm not saying by doing this you're going to have good credit, but you're aware, you're paying attention. You know, you're aware of things that could potentially harm your credit. You're looking at other avenues of how I could protect myself, right?
Yeah. Yeah. There are a lot of things that people can be doing out there, and you just need to remain vigilant.
Yeah.
You just got to assume that someone's out there to scam you out of something. It can be something as simple as, you know, making sure your antivirus software is up to date on your computer.
Good point.
You know, because you can get a keylogger and somebody can figure out your bank password, or, you know, any number of things.
Yeah,
and,
I was going to say, Mike, when I log in, I need to start doing that, because I log in and it's like I could press anything. I'll jump on a website, and it will just automatically log me in. I won't even look at the password or anything, especially with Google.
Oh, Google Chrome is so easy to do.
Oh my gosh, I jump in and it's just like boom. So that's a good point. What else you got? Anything else?
Let's see here. Hang on a second.
I like this list, man. So for somebody to go put this together, usually it's because things have happened, right?
And this is just a little value add that I give to my clients. It's got my name on it and my phone number and all my contact info. But it's just there are a number of different things that you can do there. Let's see, what do we got here? Whenever any money leaves bank accounts, have your phone alert you to the transaction.
Right.
Okay, so I have my mortgage paid automatically.
Yeah.
And I get notified by that.
Yeah.
So that's pretty useful.
And the thing with the cell phone too is that you can get notified for everything, right? I mean, pretty much everything. When somebody pulls your credit, I always get to, and I was going to say this about credit is, when people go on and let's say they have, they're attached to one of these credit apps, right? That they tell you what your score is. So my thing is I think they want you to stay on that app because it always seems like it's a little bit higher than say the credit score I pull. Mm-hmm. But what it does is it allows you to see all your trade lines and everything else. So I always get people that are like, hey, you know what? I looked at my score the other day and it's a 740, but when I pull it, it's like a 700.
Sure.
I think it's just a different algorithm. I think when you get a home or you get into a car or something, maybe there's a more conservative algorithm that comes in.
Not everybody gives you a real FICO number.
Right.
And, some of them give you a FICO-like number.
Right.
I don't quite know the difference, how they work. I just know that some are different than others.
Yeah. I know. So going back to the whole scam thing, have you personally been scammed from any money? I'm just curious.
There was one time I got kind of scammed by somebody who told me I won something and, but you had to buy something, but, hey, you buy this and you get this really big prize. And gosh, I was probably 23, 24, something like that. And
yeah.
All right, there's a lesson learned.
Yeah.
I got this stupid thing that didn't do anything, and I didn't win the money.
It's always something that you think. I'll tell you, I got a couple of stories that I could tell you. So the first story I got was this guy was doing websites. So I'm like, I'm going to create my own website. I just got started, right? So look this guy's information online, and I go all the way down. His office is next to Las Vegas Boulevard. So I'm driving down there and I'm like, man, this is going to be great. I'm going to have a nice website, nice sunny day. I pull up, office looks great on the outside, and I'm like, great, this looks fine. And I'm sitting down, I'm ready for a nice long conversation about what we're going to be doing with this new website and how he's going to create it. And so I walk inside, and then when I get inside, there's like 7 or 8 rooms, and it looks kind of dingy in there, right? It's like, it looks like stuff's just not maintained. Well, I'm like, well, you can't judge a book by its cover. All right. So I go in there and I'm looking around, and I'm like, I'm here to see so-and-so about a website, So I walk in the back, and man, I should have just walked right out because I went into this room, and this room literally had no desk. It had some like graffiti on the wall, and it had some stuff. And I'm thinking, man, this guy must be like some hacker or something, like this guy must be some like computer genius or something, because all of a sudden he just shows up and he's like, yo, this is me, I'm so-and-so. And he's like, you want to sit down? So we ended up sitting down there, and I'm like sitting there thinking to myself the whole time, like, all right, this doesn't feel right. It doesn't seem right. But then he's pitching a good game, right? He's pitching a great game on the fact that this website is going to be amazing and he knows exactly what to do. So what do I do, Mike? I front him some money. And not only did I front him some money, it was a couple $1,000s of money, right?
Wow.
So he did not answer the phone. He was answering the phone, but I think he was doing some stuff at nighttime. You know what I mean? Like he was either drinking, he had an alcohol problem, or something was going on. But the point of it is, you got to do like if I would have just taken my gut feeling on this, I would have turned out in the other direction. So I'm calling this guy. And I'm like, hey, man, this website seems like it's 25% complete. Things just don't seem like they're working right. And it was always this song and dance, like, oh, yeah, well, I had to do this. Yeah, all the time, right? And then it's like, by the way, if you want me to complete it, I'll have it by such and such time, right? But I was like, okay. He goes, if you don't want it, I'll give you your money back. 100%. right? And I'm like, okay, sure. So it gets all the way till that day, and I called him. All of a sudden, he's not answering his phone. I'm like, hey, did you see this guy down at the office? Oh, his office is no longer here. And I'm sitting there like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And so I ended up losing about $2,500 off that.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, it hurt, and it hurt bad, but I learned from it. Like I'm now going to be probing people.
It's kind of interesting. Some of the listeners have that. Elena got
100, yeah, 100.
1,500 there. Cece said she almost got stuck by that guy saying her Amazon account was charged for $200.
Yeah. These things are real, man. And it's like, you don't know. And I think where you come in and you talk about people that are the younger, there's some very smart people that are younger generation, but I'm just saying when you live life, you've probably seen that, or somebody's been down the road before where, look, I've been taken advantage of with money and just people, fraudulently trying to take something from me. Obviously I caught that, but that was one instance. There was another instance where I got a check in the mail and they sent this check that says, go cash this $5,000 check in your account. Right. So I go down there thinking, man, I got $5,000. I was like 22 years old.
I've never had that much in my account. I can't wait to see this.
So I go to cash it. And I'm like, because I thought it was, they made it really cute. They were like, this is from so-and-so I was actually in an accident. I don't know how they got this information. They said, go cash it, right?
Wow. Okay.
So went to go cash it, and the bank's like, this is not a real check. I go, no, it's got watermark and everything. So me being stupid and young, I'm like, dude, I got $5,000, like I'm great. I'm going to go cash this check. And they stopped me, but what they said was, if I cashed that check, they would have access to my account. They could have had access to the account. And that's what, I don't know how they would have that happen, but they said that people are doing that and they're sending it in the mail to gain access, So there's just a lot of ways. Look, if it sounds too good to be true,
it is.
It's probably too good to be true. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, like that time I got scammed for that.
Yeah.
That contest winning. And, it was stupid. I should have known better. I didn't.
Yeah.
It cost me some money, but I did get a little TV out of it. That was kind of fun.
Yeah, you got. But that's the only time you've ever been. That's the only time you've ever been scammed, Mike.
That's the only one I can think of right now.
Were you just you were just too smart for the people, meaning people that are trying to scam you?
I'm a very skeptical person. I'm kind of skeptical about a lot of things, so I question a lot of things.
I think it's a compulsive behavior though too. I'm somewhat like that. Like if I want to go buy something, I go into it. I'm very compulsive. Like I'll see it and I'll go, I want to buy that. I want that. And it's like, I think if your character is somewhat compulsive, I think you kind of like.
CC says pull back on the mic a bit.
Oh, is it a little too loud?
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay.
Try that.
Is that better? Hopefully that's better.
Yeah.
So
CC gets scam calls every day, sometimes 3 times a day.
No, I do too.
Oh, I see those.
I see it coming on all the time.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there at work and I get this scam call and the way that they've identified that's beautiful.
It's really awesome. But, I had one of these guys and I was talking to him for probably 10 minutes or so. We're just sitting there. And then finally I said, okay, let's cut the BS.
Yeah.
I know what you're trying to do here. Why do you do this? And, we actually started talking. He was from India. He was from Mumbai.
Yeah.
And, I've been to Mumbai. And, we talked about some things. And then I said, how would you feel if someone did this to your mother?
Right.
And he said, it wouldn't bother me at all. Of course, I got to thinking, well, maybe his mother doesn't have anything. So what is there to scam?
Yeah.
But, I think of, what if they tried to scam my grandmother, my mother?
Yeah.
That hurts. I don't like that.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It was interesting having that conversation with him.
I think too, it's interesting because I think there's always people out there looking for new ways to take advantage of people. And, especially with the cyber ways of going online and, intercepting or it's interesting to me because I've never had an issue where somebody has had calling me going, is it okay to wire my money? And I'll tell you what, man, this has happened probably 3 or 4 times where people are calling me going, is this legit? Like, should I do this right now?
And that's great.
Yeah. And it's great because people are aware, but there's still people out there that maybe aren't aware of some of these things that could happen, and I think that's people need to get note. And, there's a lot of people too, Mike, that are taking, what's that?
CC likes to make, make them hang up on her.
Right.
She keeps them going. Hey, yeah, I've done that. And you just kind of keep them going and ask them stupid questions or, hey, what are you wearing? I don't know. Is it okay to sexually harass these people? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, like, I do the same thing. Like sometimes you'll be like, I can't hear you. I can't hear you. What are you saying? Like just kind of play with it. But it's true. It's out there. And, I'll tell you another quick story is like I told you, there was a guy that was, man, he was actually running. He was going to run for, I think he was going to run for governor or he's going to run for a senator. And he ended up doing the fraudulent part where he's renting out properties. And he was the one that was, he's the one that I was talking about where.
I remember that story.
Do you remember that story?
Yeah.
Dude, he had me go onto the radio show, and it was a crazy, crazy situation. But he's like, come on the radio show. And then, so I'm starting to develop rapport with this guy. And all of a sudden it's like, he's barred from everything. He's not on the radio anymore. And I'm like, what the heck happened?
Yeah.
And I think he scammed like 7 or 8 people. They gave him like $2,000 to $3,000.
Yeah.
Had him sign a fake lease. You could print that stuff offline, like you said.
Yep.
And I think he left with I think it was a lot of money, man. I think it was like $30,000 to $50,000.
Oh, I'm sure.
So it's just crazy.
Yeah.
What else you got on that list?
Well, just show that off again.
Flip that around.
How about that way?
There you go. So that list is on your Facebook channel, right?
My Facebook page.
Let's see if we can find your Facebook page, man. I'm going to see let's see if we can find Mike on his Facebook page here. And what do you have your Facebook account as, Mike?
Peak Financial Solutions.
Let's see if I can.
Surprise, huh?
Yeah, let's see if we can find you on here, man.
Yeah. Go up to the.
Yeah, you guys right here, right?
Yep.
So do you you guys?
The search Facebook.
Oh, there you go.
Next to it there.
Gotcha. So let's see, Mike Keeler.
No, just put a Peak Financial Solutions.
Peak Financial Solutions. Okay. Let's do this. And I'm curious, man, because do you have a lot of people talking with you about Facebook? Like, did I spell it right?
No. Oh, well, it found it. Yeah, I knew it. That's me, the first one.
This one right here, right?
Yep.
Okay.
There we are.
So
there's my guide.
Let's bring you in,
man. Look at that.
There you are.
You can download it. Woo-hoo.
Yeah. Look at that. You could download it. You can contact Mike here. It's pretty cool, man.
Yep.
So do you get a lot of people on Facebook right now that are actually...
look at that. There's little data thieves from outer space. What the heck is that?
What is all this?
Some of this stuff, I don't know.
Is it, you put this stuff on here too? Or?
Some of it's mine. Some of it's done for me.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, it's interesting because I think a lot of people, they're on Facebook, but I know that there seems like there's a lot of people that are shifting from Facebook. You got other platforms like TikTok, and you got platforms like Instagram.
Yeah.
And you know what I'm going to start doing is, and I want to stay tuned to this, I'm going to start streaming towards Instagram. I think they even have Twitter, where I think they have Periscope. I know it's going to go away at some point, but we're going to start streaming to every platform because Facebook's great. I do think, though, it's kind of becoming a dinosaur. I mean, it's still going to be there, but there's other platforms that are going to come out.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of pushback and people want to do something different. And there's a lot of stuff that's going on at Facebook these days. And, a lot of people are tired of giving Zuckerberg their money.
And the other thing, too, is I would say there's a certain demographic, right, on Facebook where... Would you say the younger generations are really on Facebook, or would you say that they're starting to lean more towards the Instagram and the TikTok?
The younger generations are not on Facebook.
Not at all, right?
My kids are not on there at all. And they're on Discord and all these other things where they talk to their friends. So
it's good for business. It really is.
I think it is. I mean, we run some ads, do some different things, but. I also do it on LinkedIn.
LinkedIn,
That's a little bit more professional stuff, but I do that.
Do you get a lot of people that are trying to recruit you though when you go on there? Like,
oh gosh,
you know what I'm saying? Like, Mike, hey, I saw you on here, and you're fantastic.
You'd be perfect. Do you want to be an Allstate agent?
Right.
No, I don't want to be an Allstate agent. That's too much work.
I think I try to avoid that, because I'll tell you right now, I get a lot of calls for recruiting, like where they want me to go to their team and, go to their company really and bring my team and bring everything. But I just,
I like
for
being
me,
myself.
Yeah, I love
my
that.
own company. And no, I've had people try to hire me away and it's like, well, I don't want to be an employee.
Right.
I'm a business owner. That's what I like.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, in my world, compliance is a huge thing and they have to monitor everything.
Yeah.
So, pay for special monitoring on Facebook, for example. It looks at all the ads, and anything that I post gets reviewed by compliance. So if I, say, oh gosh, go buy Bitcoin, it's going to go to $1 million.
Yeah.
They'll, hey Mike, take that post down.
Have you ever have anybody ever tried to scam you through Facebook? Has anybody ever tried to reach out to you? Like, I think those platforms are pretty secure, right?
Well, so that's a different one.
Okay.
Yeah, people do reach out. They'll create a profile,
like an ad or something.
No, a duplicate profile. So back before I knew about these duplicate profiles, all of a sudden my mom is reaching out to me. She wants to connect. Like, well, we were already connected, but I don't know what happened. So I did it, and then all of a sudden she's wanting money. Like, that's not my mom.
Yeah.
So I posted out there that, hey, this other person is not my mom.
Yeah.
And so I mean, that was kind of weird.
Yeah.
But another thing I see on Facebook is there's a lot of crap that people are selling. It's not real stuff. I saw this 20-piece DeWalt tool set for $100. I'm like, well, you can't buy one DeWalt tool for $100. How are you giving me 20?
Why are they doing that though, Mike? What are they trying to get from you?
It's just they're trying to get your credit card information, or they're just trying to get the $100.
I see.
And
have you ever been to OfferUp?
No, I haven't.
OfferUp is something where, you can go on there and people are selling their stuff. And I'll tell you, I'm not skeptical, but like I'll show up. Like if I bought like a dirt bike off there one time. Okay. I bought some other stuff off there. I don't go there a lot though, because I would rather show up in person, but I think you have to show up to, like, they can ship it, like eBay. Okay. I'm a little skeptical about eBay too, because you don't know what the product you're getting sometimes, but I think it's maybe a little bit better than I mean, it's about the same as OfferUp. I've
been selling some stuff on eBay lately, some old video cards, that I'm not mining with anymore.
Yeah.
And it's been interesting. I had 7 really awesome sales, and then the 8th one, holy cow. I mean, this guy says, oh, well, the card doesn't fit in the slot. Well, then you don't have the right kind of slot. And,
right.
But he tried to put it in there anyways. And it's like, well, and then he turned the computer on. Well, that could fry the card. I don't want that card back.
Right.
And, so we've been dealing with things, and, eBay's supposedly going to keep the sale because the guy may have damaged the card through misuse.
Right.
But I've had good luck on eBay. I've bought video cards and sold them on there. It's hit or miss, though. There are a lot of people out there just trying to scam you.
Yeah, it's just money, but somebody's going to generate something to buy, and then they get your credit card.
It's just always be vigilant.
Yeah.
And, always use a credit card with these transactions. Don't ever use a debit card. There's a good one. Don't ever use a debit card for online transactions, because once they do that, they can drain your account.
Yeah.
And you have different protections with a debit card versus a credit card, right? If all of a sudden they take $5,000 out of your checking account, the bank does not have to put that $5,000 back. If that happened on your credit card, the credit card company has to immediately cancel that charge or put it into suspense, and all of a sudden that $5,000 is taken off your account. So, if you need that $5,000 in your checking account, you're hosed.
Yeah.
So that's a big deal. So, using a credit card is much safer than a debit card.
Well, then also we'll go back to the credit card situation with what happened. I think it was with Target, where everybody got that information. The thing is this, we don't know like what the outcome was as far as how people were suffering from that, but it could be catastrophic. And you know what? When you deal with like our industries, we're dealing with sensitive information every day.
Sure.
I'm not allowed to have anybody's information out. You got to keep your paperwork uploaded. Like if somebody comes in and drops information at my office, I got to literally upload it right then, put it in the shredder, get it out of this,
right.
People, you got to, and everybody's protective when you come in here, my computer. So these things are taking notice, man. I mean,
well, they have to.
Yeah. It's sensitive information, and it's stuff that people can really have their lives really adjusted from.
I want to give, let's look up another website here.
Okay.
Have I been pwned?
What is that?
Have I, this is all one word. Have, H-A-V-E.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to type here.
Yeah.
2 hands.
But there you are. Have I been pwned? P-W-N-E-D.
And it came right up.
Yeah. So put it in one of your
there 50 you go.
Email addresses.
What is this? What is this for, Mike?
So what it's going to do is look to see if this email address has shown up in a data breach. So here, put in president@whitehouse.gov.
This email?
Yeah, president@whitehouse. No,
At
yeah.
whitehouse.gov.
Yeah, and let's just see if this has been pwned or.
Okay, let's take a look. What does this do?
Oh no! So it says it's 62 data breaches.
Oh,
okay,
wow.
so click on those data breaches. Let's see what they are.
Where's this at? Here?
Yeah, to the left.
Here.
No.
Here.
Down.
Here.
Down. Pwned in 62 data breaches. Up
Where
a
you-
little bit.
Up.
No. Down.
Show me where.
Right there. Oh,
Right here.
Back. Right.
This way.
No.
Show me where, Mike.
Right there.
Oh, I can't even see
Yeah.
that. Okay, it's
Okay.
highlighted. Sorry about that, guys.
And
So
that
here's the
didn't do
facts.
what I wanted.
What
Yeah.
is this? What is this website though? What does this do?
So what it does, it scans the dark web for your contact information. So
Really?
actually go back because it'll show a lot of the data breaches that it has been.
So this scans the dark web.
Yeah.
Huh.
Up there. Scroll down.
Okay.
And oh, there we go. So it shows you different data breaches. Okay, so Adobe in 2013, 153 million Adobe accounts.
Wow.
Here's AKP, Animoto. I mean, you keep scrolling
What
down
is
here.
Mike? What is the dark web? Because I think some people don't know what that is.
Oh, there's a good question.
Yeah, that's a good- 'cause I
using
think-
jargon and
Yeah.
So the dark web is kind of where they put a lot of this information. And they sell it, and they'll sell. Hey, I got 10,000 email addresses and social security numbers. So I mean, this is kind of interesting. You keep scrolling down, and these are just the A's. Look, now we're to the B's. Cannabis.com. The president has been at cannabis.com.
Wow.
Interesting. Okay.
The president has been at cannabis.com, huh?
No, I
Wonder
mean,
why he's there.
Yeah, I don't
Treatment,
know.
right?
Yeah, of course. But you keep scrolling down, and you'll just see a lot of companies that you recognize all of a sudden, and these.
So
are
you
all,
come here and you look at this and you can put this information in, and then it'll show you.
right. You put in your
What-
email address, and it'll say, "Has this email address shown up on the dark web?"
Wow.
And it's really scary.
It is scary.
So
You think there's a lot of people on the dark web that are constantly looking for opportunity, right? Is what you're saying.
That's how they got my clients' information when they called them and said we're the DEA.
So the first thing they would want to do is come here and type in.
Yeah. So have I been pwned? PWNED.
Have I been pwned?
Yeah.
Huh.
So that's kind of a internet speak for pawned,
Right.
Or actually owned. I'm sorry.
Owned, yeah.
Owned.
Owned.
Yeah. But you put in your email address and just click that, and it's scary. We're
Have you put yours in?
yeah.
You want to put yours in real
Go
quick?
for it. Yeah.
All right. What's your email, Mike?
So put in Mike at peakfinancialsolutions.com.
Peak Financial Solutions, right?
Yep.
.com.
Everybody's watching you type. No
I know.
pressure.
Well, I got this mic sitting right in my face.
Yeah. No, I'm across the here.
Yeah, right. You're right there.
Oh no! Well, it's just 4 data breaches. Hey,
Oh,
I'm
there
better
you
off.
go. So anybody could put their information, which is kind of cool.
Oh,
man. I
you
didn't know.
should. And,
Okay.
and it'll open your eyes as to how your information is out there. And just knowing this, that people have your data. Okay, well, now I got to be a little bit careful.
Yeah. Huh. That's crazy, man. So you can actually look it up, and it's just amazing, right?
It is, yeah.
So we have quite a few things. You got a list you can go download at his website.
Yep.
I've told you guys a lot about what's happening with the financing and real estate side of things as far as what could happen to you, and be aware of this. And there's going to be more.
And
right?
it's always okay to ask questions.
Well, it's good to ask questions, and you're right. And I think that people have to somewhat give you that trust, though, too. Like, you have to have that wall up. Maybe you ask.
I understand that, but
Yeah.
if they get an email saying, "Hey, here's the wiring instructions," Dan, did you just send me an email about the wiring instructions? That's
Right.
okay to do that.
Yeah.
But you're right. They do need to trust you.
Correct.
I mean,
Correct.
you are a fiduciary. You are there to, you have to protect their data.
That's right.
Right.
That's
I
right.
do that for my clients too. And you yes, they do have to be open to sharing that data, but it's also okay to make sure, okay, is this really the right thing? The right time to be doing this.
Right.
So,
and I think too, when you look at what's happening with, we have a lot of people.
CC got 30 data breaches. Oh, nice.
Oh my gosh. See that?
Yeah.
See that? And people are going to start to know this stuff, Mike. That's good that you brought this up, man. So you can see what's going on behind the scenes, right?
Now VegasCoin.Vegas. Does anybody know about the people who call you and say they're your name and they're trying to buy your house? You know what? They're probably just getting that off the county assessor website.
Well, yeah. Look, all this stuff is online.
It is scary. You can look up my
really
house.
is.
You can see my signature on the paperwork that I used to buy my house. And it's available, to anybody who goes to the county assessor website.
My sister also works for a place that has the ability to look. She can literally go look at history of like when people passed away. There's nothing you can't find on the internet. Like she could look, she went on there and she looked at our information and our name back to like 1800s. It's crazy. Like,
but one thing you can't find is a COVID vaccine appointment. They don't exist.
Well, how old are you? No, I'm just
no. My parents called me up and they were so frustrated they couldn't get one in California, and they asked me, and it took me an hour, but I finally got them one.
Well, I hope COVID's behind us. I mean, it's still going to be there, but I hope it's behind us. Like I said, I got parents too that 60s and 70s, and it scares me. Like they get into something, that's something that could definitely turn them for the worse. So hopefully this thing kind of really starts to get under control, which it seems like it has, Mike. It seems like things are starting to really kind of, start to get good.
Now, Cece said, so she's got some data breaches on her Yahoo account,
right?
But none from her Gmail or her work email. So I'm guessing that your Yahoo account's probably an old one, and the Gmail's probably newer, and your work's a lot newer.
So the Yahoo one would probably have more data
that's
behind
something
it, correct?
that she used a long time ago. I'd be interested in, if that's true. But because, I've got a Yahoo account, and I did that, back when Yahoo was cool. But nowadays, I'm using Gmail, or I've got my own domain or my work. So, yeah.
What we're going to do, Mike, is we're going to wrap this up. You have anything else?
We've been talking forever here.
Yeah, we've been actually talking for a while, and I got carried away, actually. I was supposed to do this for, I don't know, about an hour, and I think it turned into, what is time? What is 7 o'clock?
Yep,
our time, Pacific Standard. So we're going to wrap this up, but I think...
I was right. She said so.
Right? Okay, so I think what we're going to talk about is that, yes, we're in a fiduciary responsibility as far as our clients, right? And what we do. We do deal with sensitive information, but
our clients' data is paramount. I mean, the security of it. We take so many precautions, using shredding services and secure document storage, all this stuff, right?
And no question's a dumb question. So when you have uncertainty or you have concern, if you're going to ask me, hey, Dan, what about me wiring money? Is that going to be a problem? That's a good question.
Yeah.
What about, Dan, if I give you this information, who's going to see this information? That's a valid question.
Sure.
But again, also too, you have to take that in consideration that we still have to have the data to show. Like if you're going to go into an underwriter when I'm giving a loan and you're crossing out everything and there's nothing to see, that's not going to get us very far. So you have to establish the trust up front with the fiduciary responsibility that we have. And then, over time, I have your best interest. We'll get things done. And then I think it kind of eases up.
I think people just aren't familiar with how things work. And because I have had that, and I like to see clients' tax returns because that helps me do a better job. And often they crossed out all the numbers that I need. And it's like, well, this is useless.
Right. All right, we're going to wrap this up, guys.
Yes.
What I'm going to say is if you guys have not been to my website, you guys can go to vegasloanguru.com. You can go there and find me. You can also, find me by, Mike, you got information, but you can find us online. I'm going to give you a quick shout out to you at Peak Financial Solutions, and if somebody's interested in doing a home loan, obviously going to vegasloanguru.com, you can start the application there. It'll pull your credit. It'll go through the process of getting everything established. If you want to have a phone conversation with me before that gets started, that's perfectly fine. You can call me directly.
You got to get pre-qualified before you start.
Yeah, you got to get pre-qualified.
Can I buy a house?
Exactly. So any final thoughts?
Just be vigilant.
Just be vigilant. Thank you for watching an episode of the French Workbench podcast. If you want to tune into past episodes, please subscribe to my channel now. Also, if you want to look